Welcome back to Movie to Blender and another episode of Only on Netflix. This is where I scour Netflix for the randomest, the hardest to find movies, or the just plain crazy, and I bring them to you, my viewers, so we can all enjoy the shittiness that is Netflix. This time, in my little search for nuggets of gold among the rubbish and shit, I found 3 movies that I could not believe have trequels, a third, another part. There's a 1, a 2, and a 3. 3. I could not believe it. And I don't think you'll be able to believe it either. So, on this episode, I can't believe they made a third. So the first film we have on the split today is Death Race 3 Inferno.
Set the lights.
Welcome to the highest stakes death race yet. Death Race 3 Inferno.
You know, Death Race is kind of a remake of the 1970s Death Race. There was a 2001 a remake of the Death Race involving Jason Statham, which was perfect. I mean, Death Race is all about hard prisoners, convicts, like the cream of the crop of bad people, and you put them in cars. And in Twisted Metal fashion, you give them weapons outside the cars. So it's a race slash Mario Kart slash a little bit of Running Man's. Because if you win enough races, you get to go free. And Jason Statham was a perfect candidate for this. He's kind of made his career being a badass who's really good at driving. Hey, you need a badass who's really good at driving in this. Bam. Jason Statham's your man. And it was a pretty good flick. It wasn't not good. Okay, it wasn't a good flick. It was an enjoyable flick. It was schlocky, campy action, and it was something that I really liked. So I thought that was it. Like Death Race happens. Jason Statham, of course, being Jason Statham, he figures out a way to cheat the course, and they blow up the person in charge of the Death Race prison system, whatever. So the races get scrapped or something like that. And, he races on to freedom. Perfect. I thought, what a way to end it. Nice. Wait. Did I say end it? I meant clearly set up for the sequel. Now, I don't know jack shit about Death Race 2. I didn't even know it existed. The only reason I know that there's a Death Race 2 is because I just finished seeing Death Race 3, which actually has nothing to do with the first Death Race, but has everything to do with the second one, the one I didn't see. Our main character this time is Luke Goss. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar, it should, because he was Prince Nuatu in Hellboy 2, and whatever the bad guy's name was in Blade 2. Sorry, I'm little groggy on my weird trivia facts, but this is what cracks me up. As apparently Luke Goss was also the main character in Death Race 2, which means this is the third sequel that he was a character in. He can't play in the first of anything, but if you put a number on it, if you give it a 2 or a 3, he can be there. Luke Goss is the guy to come around, who do we got? Well, this guy was in the first one. Scrap him. Bring me Luke Goss. So we got Luke Goss as the main character. And we also have, for no good reason, we have Ving Rhames and Danny Trejo. I love these guys. I love Ving Rhames and Danny Trejo. I love seeing them in movies, and they always, except for Machete for Danny Trejo, they always kind of have bit parts, but they're really good in their bit parts. So, never seen the second movie. They kind of summer it up for me. Luke Goss is the guy who's playing Frankenstein. He's the main racer guy. He's the guy who always wears the mask. He's the guy who everybody's trying to beat, and he's like one race away from getting out. So apparently the second movie sets up the rules that were set up in the first movie. So all Luke Goss wants to do is win his last race and go free. Except Van Rames, who currently owns Death Race, he's got to sell out to this pompous dickhead of a businessman. So now all the rules are gonna change. So I guess they bring back everybody from Death Race 2. I wouldn't know. I didn't see it. So you have Luke Goss. You have Luke Goss's navigator / love interest girlfriend. She's the co-pilot in the car. Luke Goss is going to be the one driving, and then she's going to be the one telling him stuff. I don't know what the navigators do, because you have the pit crew who tell them where to go, and like the pit crew speaks to them. They talk to him. So I got what the fuck does the navigator do? I guess the navigator works the weapons, but not always. It's weird. It's just they're just women. They're just, you know what? If you got a guy driving, you gotta have a woman in the passenger seat, right? You gotta balance it out. I don't know. So the movie is a lot like the first. You have the racers. They have to win a certain amount of races to win. Frankenstein's one win away from going free, except for the now snooty, vaguely European bad guy businessman is going to change the rules. He's going to do whatever it takes to keep Luke Goss, who, aka the Frankenstein character, from winning, because I guess Frankenstein is the guy who like brings in the views, brings in the tickets, and that always kind of bothered me. And that, well, you can't let the guy who's winning win, because then nobody's gonna want to watch. Well, okay, how do other sporting events do it then? I mean, some guys retire and people are still watching the sport. I think people are interested in people racing and killing each other because they like to see racing and killing. They do set up things a little bit differently. Instead of kind of racing around this, kind of abandoned warehouse district with all this metal and I don't know, that was in the first one, and I'm guessing in the second one. This time they race out in the desert. In Africa, to be specific, and I kind of like how that mixes it up a little bit. I mean, now you have wider terrain, which is, hey, that's way to go for a sequel. So, since people who have seen movies that Luke Goss has been in know that Luke Goss is a really good martial artist, or at least a stunt fighter. They have a nonsensical fight like the first 15 minutes, and his mask gets knocked off, and all of his pit crew are like, it was you the whole time? So I guess in the second one they were supposed to think he's dead. I don't know. So now he's back alive, and everybody's like, oh, okay, buddy. And just everything's hunky dory again. So we got the setup. We got a businessman who's not gonna let Luke Goss's character, not gonna let Frankenstein win, because Frankenstein brings in the viewership. So he's like, you better not win this race. I'm gonna stack the deck against you. They're taking it to a new destination, so nobody really knows the track that well. And it's prisoners fighting with cars. It's really cool, but the movie kind of does not have any balls in the violence department. Let me explain. So there's a scene where you have 16 female prisoners, and they have to fight against each other to get down to five women who are going to be the navigators in the car. The navigators who don't do anything. So they fight to the death in front of the camera. And you're thinking, oh my god, it's these kind of unrealistically attractive female prisoners fighting to death. That's gonna be great to watch, right? It was they do cat fight, kind of on the ground, pulling your hair, and then it's all right, here's weapons, oh great, here comes the weapons, cut up, right? So it's I'm gonna cut, and then cut away. they cut away from like the actually like gory part. Like they don't show it. And I'm not saying like you need it. I'm just saying if you're gonna have that premise, you gotta follow it through. So, of course, this movie, it's a very ridiculous premise, but more so than the ridiculous premise is kind of how they carry it out. Since they're gonna be racing in an open desert with vehicles, not on foot, like they're gonna be driving wherever they want to in a desert. They're like, how the hell do we keep track of these people? So they have like little kind of GPS tracking devices in their neck that are used as honing points for missiles. Yeah, if you get uppity, if you start going off course, or you look like you're not gonna play along, they shoot a missile at you. And it's like a little this little missile that follows you around until it blows you up. It's like the spinning blades from Wild Wild West. So on the face of it, that's ridiculous because missiles are not that reliable. I don't think because I'm such an expert in missiles, but but I'm not wrong because they outsmart the missiles a few times. It's really, you should just put explosives in their neck if they go too far. I mean, or just a tracking thing. Just a tracking thing of like, hey, we can tell you where you are and we'll send helicopters to you. I mean, you really don't need the missiles. But one thing I do like, and it's been a while since I've seen the first Death Race, but they had this a little bit in the first Death Race, and they have a lot more in the third one, is they actually do they interject like little moments of kind of commercial, of like almost like you are watching a pay-per-view of the Death Race. So it's like little statistics, like little name drops, of just like little merchandise for sale. And I always like whenever it's kind of a look how fucked up humanity is kind of moment. Like I liked how they did that in RoboCop, and I liked how they did that in Starship Troopers, where it's like let's just look at how the populace approaches, like how do they see this stuff, because you see everything from the Death Racer's point of view, and this kind of shows you like the common everyday man. What are they seeing? Well, they're just seeing like, hey, it's like a show. And for all the kind of acting and the plot, there is actually some really good special effects. Plenty of good explosions, cars flipping, people exploding. So in that department, it's hey, they put money into it, and they do. Danny Trejo is telling Luke Goss's character, because now he's racing in desert. He's used to racing on asphalt. Now he's racing on sand. So Danny Trejo, it actually tells him this is my favorite line to have in any sequel of forget everything you know about blank. Like this is completely different. Everything you knew about the first movie, that's all gone. The rules have changed. This is a new game. It's so, oh my god, it's just so cheesy and cliche, but I love it. I love hearing it every time. And another thing I kind of noticed about this one is that they have really cool, unique vehicles. Like the first one is all kind of like, they were all kind of fast looking vehicles. Stuff that looked like it could race fast. But now they have like just big hulking trucks. And one guy, they took him out early, which is too bad. But one guy, he had a tank cannon on his truck. He had a tank cannon, like a tank. Like a tank, tank. It was on his truck. It would shoot. Like, that's priceless. You don't get shit like that anywhere else. So you got Luke Goss doing his first race. They're doing the track. You got the bad guy prisoners. You got the prisoners who were just kind of out just for themselves. You got the guys who like they're in it to like kill people. And you got one guy who's just like, he's just having the time of his life. He's just having a lot of fun. Like I think his name was Psycho, and he's not like like murder, like Silence of the Lambs murderer crazy. He's just quirky crazy. He's just like he's having a really good time. But the track that they're on, the track that they're supposed to be on, this is the route that the people running the show said, "Hey, let's go through this African town." Like, not just like, oh, it's like a small village, like there's a no, it's a town. Like they're on this town's main road, and it's like, hey, these are prisoners in fast moving vehicles that they made themselves, with machine guns on them. Why would anybody put them anywhere near a town? So, and if that wasn't bad enough, like driving through a populated area, if that wasn't enough, they drive through warlord territory. You know, the crazy guys with guns and drugs and just fucking doing horrible things. Yeah, they drive through their territory for funsies. Like, that's part of the course. So Luke Goss wins the first of 3 races. It doesn't count as winning a race. Like, you gotta win all 3 to win a race, whatever. So one of the guys who likes killing is just like, oh, well, I'm gonna go stab Frankenstein because he's making me look bad. And Danny Trejo like jumps in the way, like, hey, don't stab my friend. So he gets stabbed instead. He's fine. They take him down to an infirmary where I guess he has a fangirl, because we are treated to the delightful scene of Danny Trejo receiving a blowjob. Why did they have it in there? Whatever. Okay, so that happened. And that's when, like, before the second race, Luke comes up with this plan. It's all hush-hush. It's all very mysterious. Like you, the viewer, don't get to know what's going on until the very end. Because Death Race is a freaking mystery. So in the second race, Luke, instigate a fight with the warlords, has the warlords chase him back to the finish line, aka the prison, and then Danny Trejo gets killed in the crossfire. Like, they just blow him up. So I'm glad he survived the stabbing. I mean, Jesus. That was the second race. Now it's time for the third race, and you get the bad guy businessman who gives this little speech to Luke Goss, like, you better not win, or I'm gonna kill you. And they lock him in his like little prison cage thing. And like, he's not just threatening Luke, like he's like, I'm gonna do horrible things to your girlfriend too. So they know about the girlfriend. And then just a little bit while later, the girlfriend's like mopping, and the guards like tell her, no, you can't go in there. And then Luke Goss is just like, no, guys, it's okay. Let's have some time alone. She can talk to me. And he just dismisses his own prison guards.
Hey, you, stop!
Guard. Let her through.
I'm pretty sure you can't do that. Bam, let's fast forward. It's last race. End of the movie. Luke and the other racers are pretty much had enough of all this shit. So, they do the race normally, and as they're coming to the finish line, it looks like Luke's gonna win. So the bad guy like shoots a missile at him, and another guy, like one of the Cantonese racers, shoots up missile flares that distract the missile. Your only way of keeping these guys in check was a missile, and this guy says, can I have some missile flares? And you guys are like, okay. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's almost like, man, this tracking bug in my neck is really itchy. Can you like take it out for like a few minutes? Like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't, whatever. The missile misses Luke. Luke drives through the prison tunnel with no resistance. I mean, the security guards, all they have are machine guns, and he has an armor-plated vehicle with weapons mounted to it. It's not like, oh, they had this expert plan to catch him off guard. It's like, they really could have done this at any time. I mean, seriously, they could have just, like, driven out to the start line, turn around, and drive back in and start just blowing people up. Because I guess they can't turn off their weapons, even though the entire race, your weapons don't work unless you cross this thing. So that means that the head honchos, the producer guys, have control of your weapons. and they're trying to kill them, and then they're like, but I don't know what button it is. Luke Goss just drives into big bad boss businessman's office and just rolls him over, which causes the entire place to explode. Like, this one car took out this entire subterranean prison that he just drove through, and just like, he just drove over the guy. He didn't even have to get out of his car to kill this guy. But oh wait. Surprise ending. This is actually a prequel to the first death race. Yes, we see it getting turned over to the woman who's going to take charge of it in the first movie. Oh my god, we've gone back in time. Another surprise twist. The guy that everybody's calling Frankenstein is actually big bad businessman after he got horribly burned. That's right. Everybody is just like, oh yeah, this guy's totally Frankenstein. He's like, no, I'm the big bad businessman. Why doesn't anybody recognize me? Because your face is burnt. Also, Danny Trejo's alive. Yeah, they faked his death. I don't know why they did, because there's no reason to fake Danny's death, because Luke and all of his pit crew get out. Like everybody gets out because this is all a plan of Vin Rames. So at the start of the movie, Vin Rames is like, this guy's gonna buy my company. I want you to kill him. And then if you kill him, I'll get you out and give you money. So the entire movie, they were just kind of fulfilling that contract. They knew they'd get out. They knew they'd get money. So it was kind of all pointless. I mean, it was really, like, the fake and the death was pointless. Whatever. But you know what? It wasn't that bad. I mean, as a successor to Death Race, it's pretty much on par. I mean, not that much worse. The fact that they went out in the desert, that was kind of cool, but I mean, a lot of it was kind of similar to the first Death Race. I mean, I think they could have probably spiced it up a little bit more and had a better movie. Kind of like the second contestant, Rec 3, Genesis.
For what God has joined together, let no man tear apart.
Rec 3 Genesis.
Okay, so the Rec series is a Spanish zombie horror movie. The first movie was from the perspective of like a camera crew, just following some firemen around, and they get trapped in this building. Turns out the building is kind of, everybody's infected with the zombiness. The building gets kind of shut down, gets quarantined. Everybody has to stay inside. And so they just try to figure a way out until everybody dies. So Rec 1, right? Hey, that's an interesting concept, first-person zombie movie. Well, that's kind of neat. I don't know anything about the second one. Jump to the third one. Now, the third one is pretty awesome. So what the premise of the third movie is that it all takes place at a wedding. And so, like, the first 15 minutes of the film, it's kind of shown, like, on a wedding DVD. Like, it's got kind of the cheesy, like, floating words and the goofy kind of, like 2-chord synth pop, like, the it's your wedding. And then you have, like little wedding photos, people's, like, handheld cameras, like, different perspectives of the wedding. Like you're watching somebody's wedding DVD. Which is cool, immersive. Hey, I'm in this. And then it's like, weddings are boring. This is really boring. Get to something cool. I know you're building up character, but this is really fucking boring. Hold on. If you get past the 15 minutes, you get to the part where everything goes tits up, zombies start taking over the ceremony, people just running around biting each other, the bride and groom gets kind of split up, and the movie just improves so much. It turns out like the movie's still being filmed by the wedding photographer guy, and and he's like, what are you doing? He's just like, I'm capturing all this, and he just takes the camera and smashes it. He's like, stop doing that. That's stupid. So then it's kind of a more traditional movie, like, you know, it's you're watching actors, you know, it's actually got cinematography. Oh my god, you know. So then it becomes an actual zombie movie, but it's funny because it's kind of a horror comedy. Not that it was like nothing goofy happens. Okay, wait, goofy stuff happens. Nothing too outrageously goofy happens. It's really just kind of the witty dialogue because it's these people kind of. It's just how they talk, how they're like kind of still being polite and like introducing each other while zombies are banging on the door outside. So we got the groom. He's in there with he's trapped in the kitchen with his cousin, the fat wedding photographer guy, the little flower girl, and this guy that nobody knows, who is actually there to record if the wedding uses any copyrighted music. And so they just call this guy royalties because he's supposed to be there to collect royalties on any music they might play. So they just call him royalties. He has no name, he's just royalties. So zombies start breaking in. They gotta get up through an air vent. Fat guy photographer can't fit through his air, so he's just like, look guys, go ahead, maybe you can come back for me. It's like, oh, you know what, right there, right off the bat, I'm just like, wow. We don't have an asshole character. We don't have anybody holding up the party. We don't have anybody making stupid decisions. It's just, guys, I can't make it go on without me. Which, I mean, that was the moment where I'm just like, okay, you got me. So it turns out that these zombies, these are not your run-of-the-mill zombies. These aren't the virus infected. These aren't the unexplained. These zombies, these are the demon-possessed, unholy, undead zombies. These are zombies that are repelled by sanctified ground. Like the group actually hides in a chapel the zombies cannot even get to the door of. So I'm like, wow, what a novel concept. Like zombies that are slightly magical instead of just like, oh, that's a virus. Like, you know what? Like number two, I'm getting there. So you get the groom held up, like, I wonder how my wife's doing. Then his wife is on the intercom. She's still stuck in the building. She's in like in the main office. She says, honey, I love you. Come rescue me. Also, I'm pregnant. So bam, stakes even higher. And the good thing is that the bride, she's not a damsel in distress. She's very proactive. She's very independent. I mean, she's kind of the one who's making like escape plans, like outrunning the zombies. Like she's on it. She's not a damsel in distress. So she's kind of outwitting the zombies. Meanwhile, the groom in the little chapel there, and they find like armor, like a saint's armor, like saintly armor. And he's like puts on the saintly armor, and it's got a mace, and he's got a shield, and he's like his buddy's gone out with him. It's like, you got a guy in armor with a shield and a mace, like just going to get zombies. I'm like, yes, bring it. I love this idea. It doesn't last as long as I'd hope, but it's still pretty cool. So, you know, and it's funny because the movie doesn't really shy away from the gore and the brutality. Not in a mean-spirited way, but it's to be honest, it is very much like watching The Evil Dead or Dead Alive again. It's kind of a throwback to the horror comedy stuff where it's a good story with some quirkiness in it to keep it a little bit light, and then some just horrible snuff in it to keep it dark. And I mean, there actually is something kind of intriguing about having a zombie invasion at a wedding. Like every zombie you see is a friend or family member. Like I mean, wow. Just the idea that these aren't strangers. Like every person there is somebody you invited to your wedding. Well, I mean, What a great idea. And the idea that it's a bride and it's all about just the survival of a bride and groom, a newly married man and woman, of just wow, these guys. There is something about foreign horror movies that really know how to kind of connect to people. That just a little bit of tangent here. Something I've noticed that's kind of been lost in a lot of American movies is just reaching people, of just making people, like, we're not gonna make snooty assholes or people you can't relate to, or people who are like really dull, or it's just there's just something you can connect to. And I don't know, you just get that more with foreign movies. So moving on along, you got the bride kind of running around, you got the groom running around. Eventually the bride's like, I've had enough of the zombie bullshit. She finds a chainsaw. Just go with it. She finds a chainsaw. So she's like, I got enough of this shit. She chainsaws part of her dress so she can run more. So she's just like got this chainsaw in hand, and it's pretty hot. I gotta say, there's something about a woman in a torn up wedding dress with a chainsaw fighting zombies it's very attractive. I don't know. I'm not the only one who thinks so.
From the very beginning, I had this image of a bride with a chainsaw, which I thought it was awesome and it was sexy and brilliant. And once we had that image, once it was inside my head, I couldn't take it off. I had to shoot the film. So
finally, after like almost a whole movie running around, these two come together. They finally find each other, and then I'm not going to tell you how it ends. I'm actually not going to spoil the ending because this is a good movie. If you're into zombie movies, or you're into Spanish movies, or you're into good movies, I would honestly recommend this movie. So that's it. I'm not going to spoil any of it. I thought it was a great movie and one you should see. Unlike my third choice, oh man, did I ever pick a weird one. With Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning.
The FBI has some questions for you.
You ever seen this man? His name is Luke Devereaux. His prints were all over the crime scene.
We live among them like ghosts, biding our time. Your minds are now your own.
I didn't kill him. Luke Devereaux did.
Okay, this movie, oh my god, this movie. Okay, so, Universal Soldier. The first one, it was kind of something interesting to me. It was probably my first introduction into Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren. So the premise in the first movie is that Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, they're like soldiers. I think it was Vietnam. They're some kind of soldiers. Dolph is the bad guy. Van Damme's the good guy, of course. Dolph goes crazy, starts killing everybody. Van Damme's got to kill him. They end up killing each other. The military ships him back home and then turns him into kind of like zombie, cyborg, kind of human, kind of robot. It's techno mumbo jumbo. Either way, they bring him back to life and basically turn him into like robotic soldiers. Of course, Lundgren goes crazy and starts killing everybody. Van Damme escapes and he's trying to incorporate back into society until Dolph shows up and he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody unless you stop me. Fight to the death. Van Damme wins. Bam! Good guy wins. Awesome. Good gravy. Great. Here's the thing. I've actually seen the second Universal Soldier. Oh boy! Oh, what a campy mess. So, in Universal Soldier 2, Van Damme, his character is Luke Devereaux, by the way. Luke Devereaux, who was a Universal Soldier, gets turned human. They find a way to turn him back in. He's a human guy again. He's no longer a robot guy. He's human. And he's still working with the government to build Universal Soldiers, to build cyborg zombie soldiers. Okay, whatever. So the facility is run by this artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence goes crazy, starts using the soldiers for his own their own Skynet purposes. Van Damme, who's now a human, who has to fight these guys, manages to beat him off, shut down the AI, save his daughter. He has his daughter in that one, I guess. Out of nowhere, he's just like, this is also my daughter. Saves his daughter, blow up the facility. It's like, shut down the Universal Soldier program, pretty much. That was the second movie. Here's the third movie. It starts off with a guy we have never met before. In the first-person perspective, you're seeing through this guy's eyes. You're like, he looks in the mirror, he sees himself. Like you're seeing him out of his eyes. Some guys just break in, they beat the shit out of him, they execute his wife and daughter. This guy has a wife and daughter, and he pulls out his mask like, haha, I'm Jean-Claude Van Damme, or supposedly Luke Devereaux, and then he just knocks him out. He goes into coma. Holy shit. I was not expecting that from a Universal Soldier movie. Where's my 80s schlock? Where's my campy action? Where's my over-the-top acting? When did Universal Soldier become Apocalypse Now? Just holy shit. I broke my neck on that whiplash. So this is how Universal Soldier 3 is. The main protagonist, I'm not even going to give this guy a name. All right, so he has amnesia. All he can remember is his family. He can't remember anything from his normal life. And I hate characters with amnesia because they're boring. They're boring as hell. This guy is as boring as Christian Slater from Alone in the Dark. Oh, I can't remember a past, so I'm a nobody. The only person I've ever seen this work well in was Murdoch in Dark City. All right? So the movie plays out kind of like Memento, where this guy is kind of solving a puzzle in reverse. Like he's trying to figure out who beat the shit out of him, killed his family for what reason, and kind of retracing his own past. And the more he finds out, like he's a horrible, violent, mean, disgusting guy who just does horrible things. And nobody ever said anything about his family. He's like, oh, it's almost like it's a big conspiracy, because it is. I just cannot put into words how confusing and weird and dull this movie is. I was geared up to watch a not very good Universal Soldier movie. I did not think I'd be getting the first draft of Only God Forgives. I mean, this is insane. Big FYI, do not watch this movie if you have epilepsy. Holy shit. There are about a handful of scenes where the screen is just flashing white right in your face over and over. And luckily I do not have this condition, because that would have put my ass on the floor. Just because it's out of nowhere, it's just flashing in your face. So, medical warning, do not watch this shit if you have a seizure. And even if you don't have a condition, just the flashing is just so quick and it's not like bam bam. It's like a solid minute of just flashing in your face. The movie is daring you to not watch it. It's like, do you really want to see the end of this? Just go. Just walk away. You don't need to be here anymore. Just leave. Change the channel. Fine. Here's the rest of the movie. That's really what it felt like. So, we have a Universal Soldier film that's nothing like the other two. We have a character who we've never met before, who's the main protagonist. Is Van Damme even in this flick? Why, yes, he is. Get this. Van Damme does reprise his role as Luke Devereaux. Except Luke Devereaux is now this creepy cult leader. After getting turned into a cyborg zombie in the first movie, turned back into human in the second movie, and then turned back into zombie cyborg in the third movie. He is now the leader of this Universal Soldier cult. Like, apparently Universal Soldiers are now kind of like sleeper agents, like brainwashed, like kind of blank slates. And he gives them a magic injection that puts thoughts in their head, and then they follow him, and now he's like gonna supplant humanity. I don't know where the fuck this came from. And here's the thing. I was not joking about the Apocalypse Now thing. He has gone full-blown Marlon Brando. So he's not that much fun to watch, but fortunately, they bring back Dolph Lundgren's character. The only guy who injects any kind of passion into this. Unfortunately, Lundgren is now just a kind of toady for Luke Devereaux, the crazy cult leader Luke Devereaux. They take an interesting, psychotic psychopath killer guy from the first movie, bring him back, and now he's just a lackey who just makes speeches on Van Damme's behalf. It's just such a wasted opportunity. You have Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren back together in a Universal Soldier movie, and I don't think they even share the screen together. I haven't talked about the majority of the film yet. Let me break it down for you. Main protagonist guy, he finds out a little something about his life. A dude appears, they fight, he runs away. And then main protagonist guy finds out a little something about Luke Devereaux and the Universal Soldiers, and then a guy appears, and then they fight, and he runs away. Rinse and repeat for the entire freaking movie. I was so glad for this ending. I was so glad the movie was almost over. Finally ends with the main character guy, protagonist. He finds out that all of his memories, the memories of his wife and kids, were all kind of just supplanted. Like he's actually like a week-old clone that they just put memories in to inspire him to hunt down Devereaux and shut down the operation and save humanity. Only after he kills Van Damme, he's like, you know who else killed my family? The government guy. So then he kills the dude who made him, because he's like, you made me think my family was dead. So he kills him, and then they produce a clone of that guy. So I guess he's taken over Devereaux's operation. So in the end, humanity loses. It's way too convoluted for a Universal Soldier movie. So if any of these movies I've talked about have caught your interest, they're still available, only on Netflix. Until next time, I'm Darren with Moving a Blender.